I'm excited that we're out here today. I'm here to be part of a movement that has an opportunity to address the greatest threat to well-being on this planet that we have probably ever experienced. We have survived so far the threat of nuclear weapons. Unfortunately, at this point, we are not on a trajectory to effectively survive the threat of climate change. But because we're here today, and because people around the world like us are gathering to make our voices heard, we have an opportunity to change business as usual and create the world that we want. So, we're gonna sing a little song here. There's some lyric sheets going around. They're also on this poster here. All 4 verses? Let's sing all 4 verses. This song is actually an old Italian partisan song. It was an anti-fascist anthem in World War II. Successful flash mobs. I think over 20,000 people at once sang this song, and I hope you will all sing along. I say die, you say death. Die, death, die, death. I say you say dub. You, dub, you, dub. Divest, divest. You dub, you dub. Divest, divest. You dub, you dub. Wise up. We need to open up our eyes and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We're on a planet that has a problem. We've got to solve it, get involved and do it now, now, now. We've got to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. Make it greener, make it cleaner, make it last, make it fast, and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. No point in waiting or hesitating. We must get wise, take the laws and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. Already would like to speak, please let me know. I'm sure we'll have time for everybody. Let's see, Lynn, are you ready to speak? Lynn, are you here? Lynn, it's you? Lynn is the coordinator of 350.org here in Seattle. Raise your hand if you've heard of 350. Awesome, yeah. I think 350 is probably the reason that I'm here, and maybe a lot of others. So, thank you, Lynn. Let's give a big round of applause for Lynn.
So, a woman who was walking out next to me said, I hope I just witnessed a historic moment. So, what you just asked of the Regents is something that we all are going to have to do, which is to leave our normal assumptions. And that's not easy. So, as we ask them to do that, I think we have to look at our own lives too, and the assumptions that we make, and the ways that we live. They're going to have to leave the way they think about money. And they're going to have to leave the way they think about the future. They're going to have to leave the way they think about managing endowment. And we make choices every day in terms of how we spend our money, how we use fossil fuel, and we all live with one foot in the business as normal model, the one that suggests that everything's just fine, and we don't have to think about this, we don't have to worry about this. And then some of us live with our foot in the awareness of the planet that is unraveling, the society that is not damning wrong. And then some of us also have a vision of the world that is possible if we leave behind this business as normal model of a world that could be more humane, it could be more environmentally sound, it could be healthier in all kinds of ways. But where we put our time, where we put our energy, is going to determine which of those stories becomes the real story, which of those stories is the outcome. So I'm really grateful that every one of you is here today, and we need, 7 times more people here today. So I hope that this is only the beginning of things that people standing right here are going to be doing. I hope you will find ways to continue to work on these issues throughout the summer, throughout the year. I hope we won't have to be back here next year at the divestment, at the Regents meeting, but if we have to be, we will be.
Encourage people to figure out what really gets us going and not have to only decide based on what the financial rewards from those jobs are going to be. I've been working on tar sands action Seattle in solidarity with people stopping tar sands pipelines and tankers across North America, starting with the arrests in Washington, D.C. in 2011. And I know there's a couple people here who did that. If you could raise your hand. So when the 2 weeks of civil disobedience started at the White House, then a few of us decided here that we, in solidarity with those powerful actions, we're going to just do one thing here. And we picked the Obama campaign office down at Pioneer Square in the Democrats, or the state party offices. And we went there, and on 3 days' notice, we had 40 people who showed up with, the first time I spoke in a megaphone like this, and we talked to the Obama campaign, and we inspired people all over the country to do the same thing. And it made a difference in getting Obama to try to stand up against the tar sands pipeline that would be going from Edmonton, Alberta, down to out through Texas. And this pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline, has gotten tons of attention because it's such a significant issue, not only in terms of climate, but in terms of the corruption that we've seen in the government offices, where the same corporations that have been tasked with doing the environmental review are also working for the oil companies. And the UW and all of our institutions need to step away from supporting that dangerous and illegal activity. So that's why we're here today. We need to keep building awareness about those problems in our politics, in our climate, and in our own careers. So thank you all for being here, and who's next?
Thank you, Joey Gray, for talking about Keystone Pipeline. And before that, we had Lynn Fitzhugh talking about 350. Let's hear a big round of applause for both of them. And speaking of 350, there will be a 350 meeting on July 10th at Prospect Church in Capitol Hill. Okay, next up, we have Griff, also known as P. Joshua Griffin, Reverend P. Joshua Griffin. He's an Episcopal priest, a doctoral student here at UW of Anthropology and Climate Studies, Perception and Ethics, and he has a master's in Divinity from Harvard. So let's give a big round of applause for Griff.
Thanks, everyone. I'm used to speaking in small, mostly empty indoor spaces. Not gigantic, mostly full outdoor spaces. We don't count that. We just bracket it here, mostly full. I just want to say I'm real grateful to be speaking here, and I want to thank the students that have been really behind this campaign. I don't know who they are. I just met some of them today, some of them spoke, but the ones who've really been organizing this, who've organized the website that brought us all out, let's just give them a big round of applause. It's really a remarkable coalition. If you look at that website, the amount of student groups, professors, I mean, they haven't even tapped the anthropology department, and we're all a bunch of crazies over there, so you know that we'll just sign on wholesale. This coalition will succeed, and UW will divest from fossil fuel. This thing's heavy. Hang on a sec.
Does this work like this?
All the way.
Oh no. Wait, I want to be this guy. Alright, cool.
Yeah.
All right. This is Adam. We were arrested together last summer in Montana, protesting coal. Rising Tide plug here, I suppose. Rising Tide Seattle. Join. Google it. So as an Episcopal priest, I'm heir to a tradition which is grounded in the basic, simple affirmation that the world has been created by a sacred love force. Some of us call it God, but I don't care what you call it. And this created world, we're told, is good. And after forming the creation, my tradition teaches that God, or whatever you want to call that love force, looked at all the earth and saw that it was very good. The ecological order is animated with the sacred breath of, or spirit of God or love. And whenever its integrity is threatened, people of faith and good conscience are called upon to rise up and resist that threat. And that's why we're here. Friends, for a long time, many of us have been working to address climate change, and we thought that if we planted gardens and started riding our bikes and changed our light bulbs and reduced our footprints, we would set a good enough example that change would come. We thought if we could get just do better research and educate the public, then some form of rational policy would follow, but it has not. We thought if we elected a Democrat to the White House, you might go and get Jimmy Carter's solar panels, dust them off, shine them up, and put them back where they belong. How naive we were. The nature of corporate power in this country, the depth of collusion between regulators, policymakers, and corporations means that if we want to address the slow and creeping, intensifying violence like climate change, we must go directly to the source. The fossil fuel industry will stop at nothing. Their reason for existing is to extract, sell, and burn hydrocarbons. That's it. So now we must divest. We must refuse to profit any longer from the destruction of this good and sacred planet. Sorry, there's more. I had a 3-hour bus ride this morning up here from Portland. One of the reasons we've had such a hard time dealing with climate change is that it's so gigantic and mind-boggling, so overwhelming that it makes us feel really small and really tiny and powerless, and we start to feel paralyzed. Our entire capitalist society runs on hydrocarbons. And so to stand up in the midst of that energy and that movement is really hard. To stand up and say, wait a minute, I don't think this is such a good idea. It can be really isolating. But people look at you and they think you're crazy, and you start to feel alone and paralyzed. But not anymore.
Right.
We're not alone. In taking up this position, we join with a multitude of others, a growing movement of institutions who are waking up and refusing to profit any more from our own annihilation. We must also remember that it is a position, to be in a position like this, the position of having a gazillion-dollar endowment, the luxury of deciding where and how to invest it, is a position of extreme privilege. Most of us, I'd wager, at this university, or maybe not most, but certainly a lot of us, are in a position where we've yet to really see the direct impacts of climate change in our lives. We might be concerned for future generations, or, well, many others around the world are concerned for real and actual already existing people, communities around the the globe are experiencing great climate risk. One community is the Inupiaq village of Kivalina in Alaska. How many have heard of the Kivalina lawsuit against the oil industry? So, about 100 miles north of the Arctic Circle is a small village of about 400 people, Alaskan natives, called Kivalina. And they need to relocate their village because of lack of sea ice, and which is exacerbating coastal erosion. I won't go into the details of it. I know more than I should. 5 years ago, they brought a suit against the 24 largest fossil fuel emitters in the country, a who's who of the fossil fuel industry, the same companies that we're now targeting. And after 5 years of rising up through the courts, suing for damages related to climate change, just last month the Supreme Court decided they won't hear their case. So that case is officially over. And this just shows that justice won't be served through these means, that we've got to take direct action like divestment. I really do have one more full page, but I think I'll skip it. I mean, one keep going and one all right.
Keep going.
Go for it.
We got an hour to kill, right? All right. So speaking of Kivalina, I'm reminded again that the fossil fuel industry will stop at nothing. As the ice melts up in Alaska, Shell and ConocoPhillips are getting ready to go and drill in the Chukchi Sea, which is where villages like Kivalina get all of their native foods. Well, most of them. They get some from the land, but mostly from the sea. One meager spill would have devastating effects for communities up and down the Alaskan coast. Fortunately, till now, Shell has been so incompetent with their exploratory equipment running aground every few minutes that they haven't made much headway. Hopefully we'll keep it that way. So, what are we calling for when we call for divestment? We're calling for nothing short of the abolishment of a rogue industry. And with that, we're also calling for just compensation for workers in transition in those industries that will be affected by what we are calling for. Give it up for labor. To divest is also to join and stand with many who have already been sacrificed to the fossil fuel industry for far too long. Even if the atmosphere didn't have 400 parts per million of carbon in it, the planet weren't warmer than it has been for most of the last 11,000 years. Even if climate change wasn't happening, we would still divest. We would divest because the industry has been exploiting workers and poisoning communities for as long as it has been around. We would divest because of Shell's imperial violence in the Niger Delta. We would divest because of Chevron's wreckage in the Ecuadorian Amazon and Richmond, California. We would still divest because BP doesn't stand for Beyond Petroleum, it stands for Beyond Prevention and Beyond Protection. I was pretty proud of that one. Has anyone heard that one before? We would divest because ExxonMobil is ExxonMobil. We would divest because we are against all current and future energy wars of aggression. I can't read that one, but we would divest because we oppose the Canadian tar sands, what Ariel Derringer of the Athabascan Chippewa First Nation has called a slow cultural genocide. We divest because if we don't divest, they're going to put coal barges on the Columbia River, tar sands tankers on Lake Superior, open up Utah to oil shale, and frack the life out of every stream and aquifer they can get their hands on. We divest not as an end in itself, but as one step along the path to a just transition. We also say that these corporations should be held accountable for the violence they've done in all of these places. So this is not an end in itself, it's a step along the path to a just transition. And in my tradition, we like to echo Dr. King, who called for the building of a beloved community. The road is long, and may we walk together, in the words of Tim DeChristopher, with joy and resolve. Thank you.
I say dive, you say vest, dive, vest, dive, vest. I say you say dub, you, dub, you, dub, divest, divest, you dub, divest, divest, you dub, we. Thanks everybody. Yeah, that's funny. Does anyone else want to lead any chants? I feel a little silly about chanting, to tell you the truth, but because of this cause, I think it's important to really put our feelings into what we're doing. So, but if you have an idea for a good chant, I was thinking, like, keep our earth green and round, keep the fossil fuels in the ground or something. It feels kind of wordy. I don't know. Hi ho, hey hey I ho, fossil fuels have got to go. I don't know. If you feel free to just kick in if you have an idea. Anyway, could you hold us for a second? I want to introduce our next speaker. Her name's Jessica Spear. Jessica Spear, she's with the Socialist Alternative. She's a climate scientist and has worked on the Kashana Savant. Am I saying it correctly? Yeah. Thank you. On that campaign for state government, and I think currently there's a city council campaign. So let's give a big round of applause for Jessica Spear.
Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
No. Closer.
Is that better? Okay.
A little closer.
Okay, I just first want to thank everybody for being here and thank all of the students for organizing this. This is really exciting to just see all of the tenacity of the students to put this together. I think today's graduation day, but still there's so many people that came out today to join the national movement to divest and join up with an international movement to really stop the fossil fuel companies from destroying our planet. As Noah pointed out, I am a member of Socialist Alternative. We're a national organization of activists that are fighting for a better world. We have branches in cities all across the United States. We work in solidarity with an international organization called the Committee for Workers International, and we work in over 40 different countries on environmental issues, worker issues, student issues. We stand in solidarity with the divestment movement. And as Noah pointed out, I also work on the Kashama Sawant campaign for City Council. Last year we ran against Frank Chop, the Speaker of the House, and got 29% of the vote as an open socialist, calling for taxing the millionaires and fully funding our social programs and actually doing something about climate change in this state, closing down the coal-fired plant early. Why are we waiting until 2020? We have so many resources in this state to be, zero emissions. This year we're running for city council because the city councilors, they passed a resolution saying that they are against the coal trains. Somebody mentioned the coal trains that are going to be coming through Seattle. There'll be 9 of them if this coal export terminal in Bellingham is built. 9 1.5-mile long trains coming through Seattle, littering our land, and of course it will eventually be burned and exacerbate climate change. They passed a resolution saying they're against it, but what is the fighting strategy to actually stop this from taking place? We are putting forward a fighting strategy that includes involving students like yourself to be a part of the campaign. Use it as a political vehicle so that you can actually build a movement to stop it, because as people have pointed out, corporations have all the money. They have the influence to sort of force people in public office, as well-intentioned as they are, to not really stop this from happening. So if you're interested in getting involved with our campaign, to use it as a political vehicle for what you want to see happen, to help the divestment movement, but also to help stop the coal trains, please see me. Lastly, I just want to say that I ask everybody here to seriously consider why students are relying on investment schemes in order to fund school. Washington State has the most regressive tax system in the United States. We have 38,000 millionaires that live in Seattle alone. We're home to some of the biggest multinational corporations like Microsoft, Boeing, and Amazon. They pay nothing on their profits in this state. If we tax those corporations and fully fund education, then it would be easy for the Board of Regents to divest. What stops them is the need for them to be able to fully fund the school that we're standing here on. We have to attack it on both sides. We ask them to divest, but then also fight for a movement to fully fund schools so they don't have to rely on investment. The last thing is that I urge everybody here to seriously consider expanding your demands beyond saving the earth and saving the planet, which is absolutely something that we should fight for. Expand it to the demands of ordinary people that are struggling to feed their families. Somebody pointed out that this should be a larger rally. It's pretty big. I'm very impressed with how big it is, considering the day and it's the middle of the day. But we could grow it by expanding the demands, like taxing the rich to fully fund our social services, and really build a wider movement that is directed at the capitalist system that puts profits over the needs of people and the environment that sustains us. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear a big round of applause for Jessica. Thank you so much, Jessica. All your work, and thanks everybody for coming out. I also want to have a big round of applause for Rusty over here, who brought us the sign with this wonderful Belgian song. So let's give a big round of applause to Rusty. It's helped give me the courage to be out here with my little ukulele and sing in my crazy attitude voice with you all. All right, yeah, so let's do it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
We need to wake up. We need to rise up. We need to open our eyes and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We need to build a better problem. We've got to solve it, get involved, and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. Make it cleaner, make it cleaner. Make it last, make it fast, do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. No point in waiting or hesitating. We must get wise and organize and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now.
Let's give a big round of applause to Adam for holding up the
Okay, thank you all for being here. First of all, you're all wonderful people for coming out today. Appreciate that. If anyone did make it upstairs, or even if you did, to give a little recap, 5 of us spoke to the Board of Regents. We brought our whole pack of wonderful supporters up there. We filled that room, standing room only. I'm pretty darn sure they didn't expect that. A few of them kind of rolled their eyes at us, and it was wonderful. Sarah spoke first. She spoke wonderfully about, she told the story of Cell, how climate change impacts her and how it threatens this region and how it's already threatening our shellfish industry and people who depend on it. I know my family depends on the shellfish industry, and hers does also. She spoke wonderfully about how it's not just, it doesn't just cost us to act on climate change, inaction costs us. And that hurts a lot of vulnerable people and working people around the world. Next, John spoke, laid out the math. There's some kind of startling figures. One is 4 degrees Celsius. That's the level the World Bank says there's no promise we can adapt to if the world warms to 4 degrees Celsius. And we're well on track within our lifetimes to reach that point. Another one is that 2 degrees Celsius is identified as the safe point. And the fossil fuel industry already has 5 times the amount of carbon they need to get us to 2 degrees Celsius. So they intend to burn that. They intend to shoot way past 2 degrees Celsius to make as much money as possible and threaten our lives in the process. Josh spoke third and laid out a pretty clear ethical argument that the fossil fuel industry intends to harm people, and whether they do or not, we don't want any association with it. To benefit from those profits is just wrong. That's dirty money, and we don't want to be a part of it. Rob spoke fourth, talking about the economic side, the ways in which the fossil fuel industry stock value is based on holding reserves that are, not burnable. And if governments act on those reserves, that the stock price is going to plummet, and it's going to hurt our endowment. Holding these firms risks our endowment, not just our planet, but our financial returns. It's not a stable place, to have our funds. And I wrapped it up by tying in all those points and talking about the ways in which, we're all connected. We all have responsibilities to each other to try to take care of this planet. And divesting makes sense. It's the best thing for our endowment. It's the best thing for our image as a sustainability leader. And it's the best thing for the world.
All right, and now I'm going to take over the holding of the mic, I think, here. And let's hear a big round of applause for Adam. Rising Tide.
Hey guys, I'll try and be brief. I work with a group called Rising Tide. We're a global movement taking direct action against the fossil fuel corporations and fossil fuel infrastructure. And the thing that I really love about the divestment campaign is after folks fighting climate change for decades have gotten actually very little progress, I think the divestment campaign brings one thing that's awesome. It brings us a direct and clear enemy, which is the fossil fuel industry. It's clear that we can direct our attention, focus on damaging that industry, their clout, and their power to control our government and to control our futures. And one way we can do that is divestment. Another way that a lot of y'all have probably watched people do it is taking direct action against the industry and the infrastructure for fossil fuels themselves. So folks down in Texas and Oklahoma with the tar sands blockade and Oklahoma tar sands resistance have been putting their bodies on the line every week to stop the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. Folks out in West Virginia have been blockading mountaintop removal sites. Folks in Pennsylvania and New York have been shutting down fracking facilities. And frontline communities around the country are rising up against the infrastructure that is directly impacting our livelihoods and destroying our climate. And here in the Northwest, we are a frontline community. Between Alaska and Southern Oregon, there are 14 proposed fossil fuel infrastructure projects. Which is crazy. There's a plan, totally, boom. There's a plan to turn Cascadia into a fossil fuel corridor to Asia, shipping tar sands, Bakken shale oil, coal, and fracked natural gas out of ports in Oregon, Vancouver, Seattle, Grays Harbor. Even just here in the Salish Sea, we have tar sands tankers every day transiting to Anacortes and Tacoma. We have proposals for coal export terminals. We have a staging ground for Arctic drilling in Seattle and Bellingham for companies like Shell. We are a frontline community, and it's time that Seattle started rising up and taking direct action against these infrastructure projects. Right now, but I am going to say it's going to be a long, hot summer of action all across the region. Even though the semester is over, I encourage you to stay involved, stay active, chat with Carlo and I about stuff that's going on, and we do have one event coming up on the 28th to kick this off with a Climate Profiteers bike tour, taking action at 3 of the main companies based here in Seattle with offices, BNSF Railways, SSA Marine, and Shell Oil. So we want to take some direct action. We have some flyers about that.
Thank you, Adam. All right, let's hear it for Adam. Lisa, can you raise your hand over here? Lisa has a number of flyers for the flash mob that I was speaking about earlier, where we're going to be singing "Do It Now." So see her for more info, and you can get one of those flyers from her. Would you like to hear a couple more speakers? Yeah. Okay. Well, we have a few more, so we can do it your way. This is your rally, so please make sure you let me know if you have anything that you would like to have happen here that's not already happening. So, Adam? Ooh, should we do a photo right now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's do a big photo. So anyone want to coordinate that?
I got the trees in the background. We got sunlight coming over here. Yeah. Lift that up and get everybody under it.
Divest! UW! Make whatever kind of noise you want!
Squeeze in a little more.
Oh, okay. A little more.
Squeeze in a little more.
Get used to being close to another.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the shot. All right, yeah, fist in the air.
Fist in the air. Like we really
Squeeze in
care.
over here, squeeze in over here. All right, divest UW. Nice. Oh, that's good. I'm gonna take 3 of them.
Let's have a big cheer for everyone
All right.
graduating. And let's have a cheer for everyone who's not graduating and is going to continue this campaign next year. All right. Okay.